Okay, I wasn't the most coherent last time. I really gotta learn how to, like, hold off and stop trying to do these when I'm not in peak physical and psychological condition. So, should be a lot more coherent this time around. Okay, we got fish here, and as we saw last time, or before, we can shoot the fish and collect them, but if we shoot them out, we won't be able to get them because they're in the water. We can't go in the water, but if there was a boat, we could go on the water, because boats are these weird things where you can basically float on the water without being in the water. It's super weird. Boats, when you actually sit down and think about it, boats are like the weirdest fucking thing in the universe. This fucking version of the game looks really good, which, like, yeah, it's just the PC version. Heads up. I like how Leon's, like, totally on the ball with this shit by now. Okay, I think... Okay, 2-to-1, it's gonna be L2 and L1. L1 and R1. R1, yes! Oh no! Bitch, oh no! Because I'm used to the fucking PlayStation 3 version. Wait, why would they change that? That's super weird. In the PS2 and PlayStation 3 version, which is just the same version, it's L1 and R1, because on the PlayStation 3 and PS2, it's R1. Oh my, that's weird. That's weird that they would change that. That always weirds me out. I know why they do that, though, because they are assuming that you're using the new control method. And the new control method, you press L2 to aim and R2 to fire. So you would press L2 and R2 to dodge, because those are your fucking triggers in this version of the game with the new control scheme. But why would you use the new control scheme? Because the old control scheme is what I'm used to. But the prompts are still set for that. That's fucking weird. Anyway, video games. This section's kind of dumb. This is like one of this game's one of those where I've played it so much, and it's like got such distinctive, like, it has such a distinctive pace to its progression that I can, like, you know, it happened again. It happened again. That's so weird. The 60 FPS bugged out the fucking snakes. That must be what's happening. That's super crazy. You always get, like, weird glitches like that when you take a game that was designed to be 30 FPS and bump it up to 60 FPS because you're doubling the frame rate, but that's a lot of gameplay mechanics were balanced for being at 30 FPS. So when you bump it up, you're basically doubling all of the mechanics that were designed to coincide with the frame rate. You see that a lot with the PC version of Dark Souls. Because Dark Souls was designed with 30 FPS in mind, but on the PC version, you can bump it up to 60, but that results in a lot of weird glitches, because it wasn't designed with 60 FPS in mind. And a lot of gameplay elements were frame rate based and not, like, mechanics based. For example... Oh shit! Gotta use those animations because you get temporary invincibility. I'm not really using the, like, selling point of this gun very much right now, but in an upcoming section, it's going to come in very useful. The bullet penetration? Man, there's a lot of guys. Worth it, worth it, worth it. Oh no, not as worth it as I thought. Oh, whatever, we got a bunch of eggs. I was trying to be a cool guy, but unfortunately I'm Leon. Nice. It's all good, buddy. The weapon durability bug in Dark Souls 2 is a result of the 60 FPS thing. Because the durability of weapons is based on the frame rate. So when you hit a guy at 30 FPS, it's just, you know, one hit. But when you hit a guy at 60 FPS, the weapon's durability thinks that you hit him twice. Although it doesn't do double the damage, which is kind of unfair. But as far as the durability meter on the weapon is concerned, you hit them twice. Because you're going at twice the frame rate. Which essentially means all the weapons in the game have half the durability that they're supposed to. Yeah, this section is a really unmemorable moment. When you're doing, like, the, mental progression of the game in your head, which a lot of people can do. Like, when you play a game enough times, you can just... like, you know the level progression by memory at that point. Like, I know someone who can, recite, Half-Life 1 by memory. It's like, oh, and then there's the room with the boxes, and you gotta jump. And it's really fun. And this is one of those games, but this section right here is always one that people forget, because it's such a nothing... It's such a buffer zone, really. I don't even know why it's in the game, to be honest. Aside from this, like, this first, like, chapter 1 of the game has a really good progression to it, and that's one of the cool things about it. There's this great joke of whenever you mention Deus Ex, someone goes and reinstalls it. So that means that a lot of people are intimately familiar with, like, the first half hour of Deus Ex, because they replay the Liberty Island section and maybe a little bit of New York, and then they kind of just stop. And I feel like that's sort of what you get. Wow, that was lucky. Oh, that was lucky too. That's sort of the effect you get with Resident Evil 4 here, where a lot of people remember Chapter 1, which is the village, this whole village section here, very intimately. That's gonna fuck with... That actually kind of ruins the effect, because the point of the snakes is they jump out and surprise you. Oh, look at this. Look at this poor attaché case. Fuck these fucking jack-o'-rounds. Okay, let's get you there. Put the eggs here. Fuck. We'll squeeze this grenade in there. Yeah. There we go. Attaché case HD! If you're wondering why I keep saying that, there's the joke a couple of Let's Players I watched started, where it's like, just take a game, just make a game out of the attaché case in Resident Evil 4. Just like a little Xbox Live Arcade game, where it's just futzing around with the attaché case, and that's the entire game. I would buy that. The attaché case is so much fun. And, like, all it is like you run between a couple of rooms and pick up items, and then you fuck around with the attaché case. And you have to make the most efficient, organized attaché case possible. Shit.
Vámonos. Okay, ándale.
Policía. Ah. There's a fucking lake monster. Like, you know what? Like, that's not actually completely outside the realms of Resident Evil. But it still feels like we're getting further and further away from our humble little zombie mansion video game based on fucking George Romero, right? Because honestly, like, this first chapter of the game is paced so well, and it actually has some legit, like, tension to it in terms of, like, the horror aesthetic. It's not the same kind of horror as the original game, as, you know, the classic Resident Evil games, but it still has a very tense, nail-biting kind of fear factor going on. But once you get to the later chapters of the game, it kind of loses that a little bit, and it starts becoming a lot more openly goofy. Like, we're already still pretty goofy right now, but you can still take it at face value to a degree. Okay, so here's the boat. So we gotta take the boat across the river here, but first, let's get us some fish here, right? We can shoot the fish and then collect them with our boat. So, got a fish there. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to get these fish. Come on. Oh, good lord! Oh, that's always a fun trick. That's always a fun little trick you can play on someone who is playing the game for the first time and doesn't know. Always a good time. So yeah, I was just doing a little bit of setup for that joke. Because it's weird to just randomly try and shoot at the fish with no explanation. So I tried to get a little bit of setup there so that it makes a little bit more sense. Because it's funny. It's funny. That's such a great moment. Oh, that thing's really fucking big, too. So it's kind of funny because you generally think of the characters who were paired up. Oh shit, no! Always so fucking hard not to run to the trees on that part. You always sort of think of the partners or the pairings up in a Resident Evil game as being kind of inseparable. Like, in the first game, you sort of think of Jill and Chris as a pair because they were the player characters in RE1. So by that same token, you sort of think of Claire and Leon as a pair, even though they've had more games like by themselves by this point, especially by this point. But you still sort of think of fucking cat. Always when I'm recording, I swear. She's like, I don't want to be in here while you're recording, let me out. Bitch. You still sort of think of Claire and Leon as sort of a pair. So it's sort of funny that in Claire's, like, quote-unquote solo game, CVX, Code Veronica, CVX is short for Code Veronica X, by the way. One of the biggest disappointments of that game was this creature called the Albinoid. And the Albinoid was being set up... Fuck! Woo! As, like, this really big It was supposed to be CVX's version of Plant 42, basically, where you kept finding notes about it, and everyone was like, "Oh, the fucking Albanoid, yo!" But when you get to it, it was really disappointing. It was just this stupid nothing monster, and it was embarrassing because you could literally just walk out of the room and not even fight it. And it was kind of like known that the Albanoid was this big letdown and failure. So what this feels like to me is like an attempt to do the Albanoid again, but not fuck it up. Shit. And it's just funny that, like, Claire had a big, you know, build-up to a water monster that was the Albanoid, and now Leon has a big fight with a water monster. I forget what it's called. What's this fucking thing called? No, not that one. Not that one. Del Lago, that's it. So she fought the Albanoid, and Leon here fights Del Lago. And I just think that's a cute little bit of symmetry, because Leon and Claire are best buddies. I don't ship them. You shouldn't ship them. But they are best buddies. Do not ship Claire and Leon. I will find you. That's weird. This is actually the most annoying boss to me in the game because you have to fight him with the fucking harpoons. Which means on New Game Plus, if you have all these cool cheat weapons, you can't use them. You can't use the Infinite Rocket Launcher or the Chicago Typewriter or anything. You have to use the fucking harpoons, which makes him, like, weirdly way more difficult than any other boss in the game. Also, I forgot to mention, welcome to, Reasons I'm Terrified of Deep Water. I think I've covered that once or twice before, but I am terrified of deep bodies of water where you can't see the bottom, because fucking Del Lago's hiding under there and he's gonna fucking get you. I'm serious, that's the reason I'm scared of deep water, because I'm fucking scared that there's a monster in there and it's gonna get your ass. I used to be scared of just swimming pools, because I would be like, what if a shark got in? What if a shark got in and ate me? That would be fucked up, wouldn't it? What if there was a shark in this freshwater body of domesticated swimming pool water and it got you? You don't know! Don't you fucking talk shit about me. All these animations look fucking weird because the frame rate has been doubled. So you're seeing all these extra frames of animation that were never intended. So it looks kind of juddery sometimes. I think it's cute, though. So yeah, again, the most inconsistent gestation period ever. It has now been hours and hours later.
Leon,
6 hours.
It's been 6 hours since our last transmission. I was starting to get worried.
Don't you mean lonely? Anyway, I started to feel dizzy, and then I guess I must have lost consciousness.
Lost consciousness? Maybe that has some connection to what the village chief was talking about.
Can't say. But I'm alright now.
Can't say. Oh, silly Leon. That is kind of goofy, where she's like, it's like the last conversation he had with her was, I'm at the church, I need to go find a key. 6 hours later, she's like, what the fuck, Leon? I would be a little bit more than just worried. We literally just saved because of the chapter end, but here's the typewriter, just in case. That's kind of goofy. So here's, well, for one thing, I want to get rid of these fucking jackal bullets. So we're gonna go meet up with our good friend. As you can see over there by the blue lights, our good friend has set up shop. Lake's safe now, by the way. I'm still not gonna go swimming in it because I will have nightmares about swimming. While I'm so— oh no! There we go. So, what's your deal? Are you like just one guy and you're teleporting around, or is there like a whole clan of you motherfuckers? You know what? I don't really care. I'll be right back, because I have boxes to open up with knife. I think it's funny because... time to crate. There you go. I'm sure this wasn't the first crate in the game, but there used to be this old website called Time Until Crate, and it would time until how long in the game you would have to play until you reached your first crate. And I think Deus Ex was like the reigning champion, because the instant you start the game, like literally second one, there's a crate. But I wonder if these barrels count, because they fulfill the same function that crates are supposed to serve in video games, which is you hide items in them. What's up, buddy? I'm just gonna take some stuff behind the counter here. I'm sure you don't mind. Hold on. Oh, no, I thought he had a light of death where he's like, go around the counter. I'm not gonna fucking sell to you when you're behind the counter like a Philistine. But no, I guess I was, misremembering.
Is that old?
I'll buy it at a high price.
I'll buy it at a high price.
Love it. Okay.
Thank you. What are you
What else we
buying?
got? Do you have... no, you do not, so we're good.
What are you buying?
We can tune up
Is
our
that
rifle,
old?
though.
Is
Yeah.
that-
Hooray. Still not gonna bother with these buddies, because we are not going to hang on to them. It's really not worth upgrading weapons that you're just going to replace later on anyway. Just a waste of money. Here we go. So yeah, this is one of the things I'm not explaining is usually people just take the beer stein or the elegant mask and sell them. But if you find the cat's eyes or the gemstones, you can actually combine the treasures together and they'll make an even better treasure, and that's worth like a ton more money than all the individual pieces would be worth separately. And, you know, like when you're just first playing the game the first time, you don't know that. And I think a lot of people, like, that's one of those things you kind of have to look up, because I'm pretty sure, you know, that's not really something you'd come to the conclusion of by yourself. So this is where we started out earlier. Let's just go see how things are doing, you know? I don't know. Maybe we'll find a cutscene that most players never ever fucking see. Oh, and this nest that I forgot to shoot. Oh, there's nothing in it. I guess I did shoot it earlier. Oh, look at this cutscene that no one has ever seen! No one has ever seen this cutscene! Yeah! That's an exaggeration, but most players miss that cutscene introducing the dog enemies. Because why would you come back here? Why would you backtrack all the way here when you don't have to, when the place you need to go is where you started out the chapter? And that cutscene does not play when you come back here later on. So most players just completely miss out on that cutscene. And then when they come back later, the dogs are just there, and there's no explanation, because that cutscene introducing the dogs, you totally missed out on it. Which I always think is pretty humorous, poisonally. And so here's the big moment in the game where shit seems like it hits the fan a little bit. Oh no! Head parasite! Ah! So that's the moment where this game really sets itself apart and becomes something special. Because the idea behind the head parasites is now they're way more dangerous than the regular villagers would be, and have a much wider range and deal way more damage. But, and I'm skipping ahead here, but if you throw a flash grenade, instantly kills them, because they only show up at night. So they're allergic to daylight or any kind of bright light at all. But the idea is, oh shit, you popped their head, now they're a fucking parasite, and they're a much bigger problem than they would be normally. So the idea is to make you scared to do headshots. Isn't that fucking genius? A third-person shooter game where headshots are the entire game up to this point has been training you to do headshots. Because headshots, of course, deal more damage, and they set up for those moves where you can, you hit them in the head and they stagger, so now you can go roundhouse kick them or whatever. And that does a ton of damage. But now... Ow, fuck, you asshole. But now, after training you to learn that headshots are a good thing this whole time, now it's being like, hey, if you headshot a guy, a parasite will pop out, so better be careful of that. And that's a really smart, kind of game design thing, where it's teaching you something and then putting a new twist on it. It's like setting up your expectations and then warping them into something different. And that's kind of unconventional game design too, because now it's taking something that it's teaching you is a good thing you should want to do, and now it's being like, no, actually, you should stop doing it. And it's really clever, and a lot of people are like, okay, from this point in the game, no more headshots, headshots are bad. When in reality, and this is something a lot of people don't know, or, wouldn't know, unless they either played the game a lot or looked it up online, I guess. But that's actually a complete sham. It doesn't matter if you headshot them or not, because from this point on, specific enemies in mobs are seeded to always have the parasite. So when you kill them just by shooting them and not by blowing them up in some fashion, they will always pop the head parasite. No matter where you shot them. It doesn't matter if you shot them in the head. You could shoot them in the leg until they die. When they die, the parasite will always pop. And it's always the same villager in that mob every single time. It's not... I think it might be randomized, but once you enter an area and it's seeded, that means that that enemy is the one with the parasite, and none of the other enemies will have the parasite except for that one enemy. So it's not actually, oh, you can't do headshots now. It's just setting up that fear, when in reality the gameplay is a lot more simpler, and it's just, just a specific algorithm. But the design, oh my gosh. But the design is, still accomplished its intention. Like, whether or not there's actual mechanics to back it up, that introduction where one of them pops and in front of you and you're like, oh shit, this thing's gonna fuck me up. And then you shoot the other guy who's not popped in the head, and he is seated, so he'll pop, and you're like, oh shit, I can't do headshots anymore. It still instills that fear into you, even though it's unfounded in reality. It still makes you think, oh shit, headshots are bad now, I can't do headshots. So, I was talking over it, but that is the moment where the Punisher comes in handy, because with the bullet penetration, you can shoot 2 guys at once, and that will cause both of them to fall into the water together, and that saves bullets.
I've obtained an object that resembles a cult group's insignia.
Wonderful, Leon. Head back to the church.
Wonderful,
Ashley's safety
Leon.
is our immediate priority.
Why are you assuming that this is the key to the church? They're so goofy. Oh, Hunnigan.